These are the standard couplers that I've basically just been starting selling coming from Parker. These are part of all of the air coupler kits that I've been using, and there's very, very specific reasons why I started to use this particular coupler. First and foremost, it's all brass design, and all of the internals are stainless steel. But the other reason I wanted to use this is actually a universal connect, meaning regardless of what type of male coupler, air coupler that you have, it'll still work inside these. Um, in doing a lot of research for these, every now and then I'd run into an air coupler that wouldn't work in some of the other female couplers that I found out, or um, that I had hunted down. And I just thought that was a little unusual. I'm not a hydraulics person. I'm not an air um, expert. So researching this stuff was a little bit new to me. Um, I'd use a whole bunch of stuff inside the shop, but I never really gave it a second thought. It's just shop air, and there wasn't anything that I really concerned myself over. But instead, with the Parker fittings, it doesn't really make a difference which one of the male connectors that you use with it. It'll work with this. But there's another big reason why I liked using this, and that is because rather than a standard air coupler where you have to actually pull back the sleeve to get the check balls inside to basically relax so that you can put the fitting in and out, this one's different. This one you can actually push to lock in, and you literally just use a sleeve for it to pop back out. The problem is Parker, or really nobody else, makes a plug for this. Now I can find caps for them, but all the caps that go over this, they're kind of big, they're kind of horsey, and with the coupler bracket design that I made, there's just a small opening in the front, and there isn't enough room on the outside of it to fit a sleeved cap over this. So I was in a little bit of a quandary because I wanted there to be a cap or a plug, but I didn't have anything off the shelf that anybody could offer. So it was a little bit frustrating. So now I'm about the point to where I'd wind up creating my own. So that's what I did. And there's a couple of versions of this that I'm playing with, and there's going to be another version of this coming up soon. I had one made in aluminum, and I had one made in Delrin, and literally it's all it is just the standard female version of the Air Connect, except instead of it having a through hole, basically it just has a cap and then a hole for a tether. And so I had two made from aluminum, two made from Delrin, just so I can just kind of play around, just see which one I like better. The reason why these were designed the way that they were is because I just wanted something that just offered itself as a cap. Now, again, the reason why I kind of like these is because when you push these in, you just push and it locks in. It's not going anywhere. There's what you're feeling inside here is basically the spring-loaded balls that are inside of there that are basically keeping this thing from ejecting out. Not only that, it also doesn't leak at all, given the design of this. So if I want to remove this, now all I have to do is eject it out. And so I did the same exact thing with Delrin, and I thought, okay, well maybe I can make a piece of the Delrin itself. Another option is, I don't know if you could see, but there's a little bit of well, let's call it an air gap. Now nothing's going to get inside there just because of the tolerances that are there, but I didn't necessarily like the air gap. So I'm going to be doing another version of this that actually covers the entire thing and actually has a little bit of a cap that goes over this, but I have to be wary of the coupler, the bracket design, only because I don't have, this thing doesn't sit proud of the bracket, it actually sits flush with the bracket, so I'm still a little bit unsure. Plus there's a little bit of a tolerance issue to where I can't get it to seat all the way over, only because there's internal tolerances on the coupler design itself that if I were to go ahead and have these things made so that instead of there being an air gap, this thing sits flush, it may be on some builds problematic to where it goes in, and problematic where it comes out. So I didn't really. So there may or may not be a little bit of an air gap, but I'll worry about that in a bit. The other thing too is the reason why I put in the hole is because now I can tether it. So this is tethered. There'll be another tether here on the bottom that basically wraps around the bottom here. So that way, once this thing is ejected, this thing will basically be it'll just stay on to the bottom of the air coupler itself. And so here's what it looks like in the aluminum. Same thing, plugs in. This thing, if we can use our imagination, it's just going to be tethered along the bottom. When I go to eject it, same thing. It's just tethered over there. So right now I'm going to be doing just a little bit of testing to see which version I want to go with more. Kind of swaying against going aluminum, mainly because this thing's, if it goes untethered, it's just going to be bashing around your bumper or wherever else it's going to be, and wind up basically just marking and marring the piece itself, and that may not be a good thing. Whereas we're going with a Delrin version of it, this will be less susceptible to being dented and damaged the way that aluminum will, but we've yet to see.